Obviously changing your oil is fairly straightforward. If you've done it on a car, the difference is really with a marine engine is just that you're very unlikely to be able to get underneath it, because they put it as low as possible for centre of gravity, so you're not going to be able to slide a tray underneath and do it directly from the sump. So depending on the engine, they do it in different ways. With this engine, I have a pump which basically I'll the tube over the end of the dipstick hole here and suck it up through there. It's meant to be that way. The pipe goes to the bottom of the sump inside, so it tries to suck up as much as possible. With others, you have to have a thin pipe and you push that down and try and wiggle that around to get it to the bottom. It's not as good because you can hit the bottom and it sort of come back up again and not be all the way down there. You've got to fiddle around with it to try and keep it down. And some will have a dedicated little pump on the side. My generator actually has that, so you just open the valve to that and pump it out. But basically you do have to pump the oil out of these things. So same thing with a diesel engine in a boat that is doing it in a car. Warm the engine up first, get the oil nice and hot, so it's as thin as possible, and as much of the gunk is in suspension as possible, so you'll take as much of it out as you can. So with the pipe on, I'm gonna actually put the old oil in. I carry these cans with me, which are useful because obviously there's not a lot of space on the boat and you don't want to be carrying empty, big cans like these. Just fold down. I've got a couple of them. Remember, diesel engines tend to take quite a lot of oil. This takes about 10 litres. I've got 3 cans of oil here that are 4 litres each, so it'll give me a little bit extra left over for topping up afterwards. So to get the oil out, as I say, we're just doing it by suction with this, and it will I've got some air in the top there. I'll take the rocker cover plug off. So the thing about oil is, please don't write in about this, people have their favourite synthetic or mineral oil. I've read up on all sorts of things and really go round and round in circles. They've both got pluses and minuses, and actually nowadays it all gets very confused because you get semi-synthetics and all sorts of different things. So really, I think just the important thing is to get a good quality motor oil, i.e. something from a well-known manufacturer. I'm using this stuff, which is Castrol, which I can buy locally here. You don't have to go out and get Yanmar oil or Volvo oil or whatever engine you've got, because they don't make oil, so they're just using somebody else's oil and charging you twice the price putting it in their can. Do look if it's got a symbol on it, the API symbol. It'll have 2 letters with that. In the manual for this, for instance, it says you should have CD. So C stands for compression, diesel engine. If it was a petrol engine, it'd have S for spark. And the D is just whatever version it was at that time. This engine is now 19 years old, so that was the version that was around then. D, it's gone from E to F to, I think it's on J now. So you're not going to get CD, so it's not worth even bothering to look for that. And as I say, with synthetic and minerals and engine oils and stuff, it's all sort of mixed up now. A lot of them are semi-synthetic or whatever. This one says synthetic technology, whatever that means. I mean, really, don't worry about it, don't sweat it. I've looked at all these different things with different oils, and there's pluses and minuses. Please don't write in about, whether it should be synthetic or mineral oil, because there are pluses and minuses to both. I know them. So I'm just going to use a good quality oil and make sure that you just change it regularly. That's the important thing. So for this engine, it should be yearly or every 300 hours of engine hours, whatever comes first. This year we've pretty much done the 300 hours actually. You wouldn't normally. If you were just sort of weekend sailing, it'd be just yearly. And obviously best time to do it is before the lay-up, if you are laying up in the winter, because you don't want to leave old oil in the engine over winter. It's a bit acidic. It's nicer to leave some fresh oil in there. Some people do get the engine oil tested. You can send it off to a lab and they'll have a look at it and tell you sort of what's going on in your engine. It's probably quite a good way of checking what's going on, but it's not really that practical when you're sailing around the world to find those sorts of things going. So again, you're just better off just changing as regularly as you can. Go through it. It doesn't take that long. It's not massively expensive, so just get it done. Okay, I think that's about all I can get out for the minute, so we'll take the filter off. Once you take the filter off, it'll break the seal, the siphon seal there for the tubes next to that, and you might get a little bit more drop down, so I'll have another little go at that point. Let's just leave that in there for the time being and take the filter off. Now for this I've got a special little tool here. There's different things you can get, different belts and whatever to go around. I mean, with cars quite often you'll have a chain type one. They quite often pierce the filter. It's not a good idea here because you're just going to drip oil all over the place, and that's always the difficulty. I'm quite lucky in that it's quite easy to get to. Mine here, you can see it's quite easy. It's down this side. I can get to it. Put some paper down. Once I've got some paper underneath it, get this ready. So we're just going to do this up and it'll squeeze in and undo it. It works really well. I've got a bag ready to put it in because it's going to drip oil everywhere, they always do. Let's get it on. Once it's loose enough to get your hands on it, do it as quickly as you can by hand and drop it into here. As I say, I've got tissues and bag at the ready. Going underneath and just spin it off. So now with that out, you might have got a little bit more drop down to the bottom, so I'll give it another bit of a go. There we go. That's as much as I'm going to get. So that all done. Time for the new oil, new filter on first. And the important thing with these is to the little seal that's in there. Get a little bit of oil on your finger and just put it around the seal there, so that as you do it up, it's not going to get caught as it goes through and go out of round on there. It needs to slide and make a really good seal. Then we just put that on and get it hand tight. I will just sort of dry my hands out properly so they're not greasy and do the final bit. So just finger tight. I'm basically just going to give my hands a good wipe and get a final go. Get it another 3/4 of a turn. That should do that. So now you oil in. You want it to be right to the top of the dipstick. It's not like a car engine where you can sort of decide, okay, well, you know, it can go down to almost the bottom before you top up. You should be topping up all the time, you know, heeling over in a sailboat. You really want to make sure that you've got the level right up to the top of the dipstick at all times, so check it regularly. Once it's done, I'll start the engine, give her a little run to get all the fresh oil around, and that's it, job done.